On Saturday, September 11th, 2010, I was playing in a flag football tournament with a bunch of college-age men, mostly from Calvary Gospel Church. When halfway through our second game, I got this feeling of, well, being paralyzed. I couldn't see anything, I couldn't move, but I could hear people talking about me and using a lot of medical terminology that I didn't really understand, and I could feel somebody pushing on my chest. And I remember thinking, man, this really hurts. I wish they'd get off. I wish they'd quit. And then someone off to my left yelled, "Clear!" And they stopped pushing. They backed off. And as I slowly began to wake up, began to be able to see, I remember my head hurt. And when I grabbed my head and complained about it hurting, and I think I even tried to roll over, everybody got real excited all of a sudden. That's when they informed me that I had been in cardiac arrest, that I had just fell over dead walking back to the huddle. And to hear people tell it, it was kind of dramatic, it was kind of theatrical, I guess. Everybody thought I was joking. That is until I started turning blue and my eyes rolled back in my head. But luckily that morning there was a couple of men, Jason Johnson, who's a Madison police officer, and Peter Sandin, who weren't even supposed to be there. In fact, it was a miracle that they were there. They had other plans. At the last minute, their plans fell through, or there was some kind of miscommunication. And at the last minute, that morning, they decided, hey, let's go play some football. And well, I guess I'm glad that they did. After I went down, Pastor Roy Grant, who had just showed up, called and activated the Calvary Gospel Church prayer chain. At the same time, while Peter and Jason were doing CPR or CCR on me, chest compressions, the church was praying. And Jason has said that several times he was doing chest compressions, he could hear people, hundreds of people behind him praying and just closing in and kind of crowding on the situation there in the field. And several times he turned around to tell everybody to back up, to give us some room. When he turned around, there's nobody there. I mean, somehow God was taking the prayers of His people and just beaming them down onto that field there. Gives me goosebumps now, even to think about it. Now I was dead for 25 minutes. And when I woke up, the paramedics, they were asking me, you know, my name and all these questions and what time of day it was. And I kind of did the math there out loud and what time I thought it was. And I remember the paramedics just looked at each other and shook their heads and said, wow. And later on, when I got to the hospital, they ran all different kinds of tests, about every test they could think of, but they couldn't find anything wrong. There was no evidence of a heart attack, no heart damage, nothing. Everything was fine. In fact, the cardiologist said the next day, if we did not know that you were dead, we wouldn't know, because there's nothing wrong with your body. In fact, I've had several doctors and several medical professionals that have seen my case that I've been in for an appointment who just looked at me and said, wow, that is a miracle. But it keeps getting better. Because recently I was in for a checkup with my cardiologist, and my cardiologist listened to me and with a concerned look left to go look at some recent results I had for a stress echo. She came back in with a smile on her face and she said, well, you have developed what we call a gallop. Now, a gallop is, as she explained it to me, it's a type of heart murmur that's found in young athletes that outgrow it by the time they turn 25. It's because their heart beats so slow and so strong that there's actually a pause in the heartbeat. Well, it would appear that God has given me a new heart. But that's not the first time. Because when I was a young man, I was floundering in sin. And some would say I was a good man, and I probably wasn't as bad as some other people, I suppose, but I wasn't good enough. And deep down inside, I knew it. And I'd tried self-medicating with alcohol, try to fill that emptiness inside, and nothing worked. In fact, the more I drank, the worse it got. Imagine that. Now, I had some happy moments, had some good times, but I didn't have any joy. It was just empty. At the end of the day, it was just, something was missing. That is until I repented of my sins. So basically what that means is I gave God the keys to my life. I gave Him the privilege to take over and run things from here on out. And I remember that afternoon when I was buried with Jesus Christ by baptism into His death. I remember when I went down in the water in Jesus' name, that was the cleanest I'd ever felt. I mean, it wasn't just a clean on the outside, it was a clean all the way through. My guilt, my shame was just gone. Then sometime later on a Wednesday night in September 1990, God filled me with the Spirit. And the Creator of the universe came to live inside my heart. And gave me a new heart. Made me a new man from the inside out. And now I know what joy is. Now I still get flat tires, get cut off on the belt line, stub my toe in the dark at night. But I've got real joy. Joy that's unspeakable. I have peace in my heart that defies understanding. I have power to be the husband that my wife needs, and power to be the father that my 3 beautiful daughters deserve to have in their lives. And I found purpose in my life. I've been privileged over the last 20 plus years to make an eternal difference in the lives of others. So I know that when I finally do die, I can go and rest in peace, because God has made an eternal difference in my life and has given me purpose. And He can do the same for you. God bless.